Hi everyone, welcome back. We are on week 6 of our program. Can you believe that we are almost halfway through our program? This is going to be an interesting week. As we discussed last week in our live Q&A, this is going to be the first week that you're going to focus on removing something from your diet rather than adding something back in. And in all honesty, it just might be your hardest week yet, but you've been preparing for this week with all the previous weeks. Those first 5 pieces are really going to help you get through this week. And I honestly have no doubt that you can do this if you put your mind to it. But before we jump into week 6, let's go ahead and review how this last week went. Our goal was to add more movement in. So I'm curious how that went. Your first task was to figure out how much time do you actually spend sitting each day or being sedentary, right? And then to look at the opposite. How many minutes are you moving intentionally each day? And how can you add more movement into your day? And that could have been anything from intentional exercise, from going for a walk, to just adding more steps in, right? Parking a little farther away or taking movement breaks. So I'm hoping that it went well. Your third task was to record that on your worksheet. And I hope that at the end of the week, as you looked back, that you were successful at getting more movement in each day. I didn't see, there wasn't much commentary happening on the Facebook group, so I'm going to assume that means that it went pretty smoothly, that you didn't have too much trouble adding more movement in, and I would imagine that your body is thanking you for that. I imagine that felt good and that you will hopefully be able to continue to work on movement as we move forward in the program. The other thing that happened this last week is it was really your second week of putting together all the 4 pillars regarding food, right? So the fluids, the veggies, the protein, and the fat. And you had another week just to kind of practice and play with that. And hopefully it's starting to feel like you have some new habits in those 4 areas. Obviously, we're going to continue to work on those things, but those 4 pieces are really going to help you get through this next week. One other thing that I forgot to remind you guys about last week was to take a photo of yourself. I hope you did that. If you remember at the very beginning of the program, I asked you to take a picture, to take a full-length selfie, and then after months 1, 2, and 3 to take additional photos. I think this is really helpful. This is giving you a visual tool as well as written tools in documenting your progress. So if you forgot to do that, and I apologize that I forgot to remind you, then please go ahead and do that this weekend so you have your second photo as we move forward in the program. Okay, so without further ado, we're going to jump into week 6. Are you guys ready to detox from sugar? I hope so. Let's look at our first slide. So your first task this week is going to be to read the chapter, of course, on sugar and processed foods, and to really familiarize yourself with all the different names sugar goes under, all the disguises of sugar. And I don't expect you, obviously, to memorize that list. I have a really long list in the book. But the idea is just for it to be familiar. So when you go through your food products in your house, that you're actually going to recognize the hidden sugars. And that's really your second task, is to go through your kitchen, go through your pantry, your fridge, and to really get rid of anything that has added sugar in it. And I know that is sometimes difficult to throw stuff away, but trust me, if it's not out of the house, if it's not out of your workspace or your office, it's going to be so much harder to avoid it when the craving and the temptation comes up, okay? So really try to commit to that this weekend. Go through everything, get rid of anything that has sugar in it. Now, you can still keep your natural sources of sugar. So I don't want you to throw out your organic raw honey or your pure maple syrup or coconut sugar or molasses. Those are all still really healthy sugars that you will be able to bring back in at some point. But I'm going to trust you that even though you're not throwing it away, you're not going to eat it this week, okay? Because the goal this week is to really detox from the sugar. It's to give your body a chance to cleanse itself of all sugar. And as much as that seems probably a bit overwhelming and challenging. When you go through this process, if you've never done it before, it really makes it so much easier to avoid or to lessen the amount of sugar you eat going forward. It's really going to help cut the cravings, okay? So really try to commit to that goal and get rid of all sugar in your house. When you go to the grocery store this weekend, you know, any packaged food, any food that has a label on it, you're going to look at the label. You're going to make sure it doesn't have any hidden sugar in it, okay? So those are big tasks, and that's going to be what I'm hoping you'll accomplish this weekend so that you'll be ready for the week come Monday. If one other thing too that I want to add to that is it's not just sugar. I also want you to be on the lookout for artificial sweeteners. So we're taking artificial sweeteners out of our diet as well. That's things like on the picture there, you know, things like NutraSweet or Splenda or aspartame or xylitol, any artificial sweetener. And it's important to look for that on the label because many things that are labeled sugar-free, oftentimes they just replace the sugar with an artificial sweetener. And unfortunately, artificial sweeteners are still a really big culprit in keeping our sugar cravings alive and strong, as well as they're still very disruptive to our hormonal and metabolic pathways. So we need to detox from artificial sweeteners as much as we are detoxing from sugar, okay? So they're both included in this task of removing all suspects from your kitchen. I would say if it feels doable when you go to the grocery store and you plan out your meals for this week, is to really just do your best to try to keep it to real food. If you can stay away from the packaged, the canned, the jarred, you know, the prepared foods, that's going to go a long way to decreasing your exposure to added sugars, even unintentionally. Okay? All right, so your third task then is what do you do when the cravings come up? Okay, let's review your strategies to help you manage the cravings. So we're going to be optimistic and we're going to hope that the cravings are not too bad and actually relatively manageable this week. But I also want you to have a plan because there will likely be times or moments when you do feel the cravings and you don't want to go into that with no strategy, right? So let's come up with some strategies. I have some here, and of course you can brainstorm some other strategies too on your worksheet that might work well for you. Hydration is going to be really important, you know, so definitely in between meals or when you might traditionally go for like a sweet treat in the afternoon or maybe after dinner, plan to be drinking something. So you're hydrating, and it could be with a hot cup of tea or it could be with coffee, you know, it could be with anything that's going to help you get through the craving. So hydrate is really important. And then of course, having regular balanced meals. So not skipping meals, right? We definitely don't want our blood sugar to drop. That's going to make the craving a lot worse. And we want to keep our meals balanced with the veggies, the proteins, and the fats like we've been working on. The protein and fat is going to go really long way to keeping our craving and our blood sugar in balance, okay? So your regular balanced meals are going to be really important. The other thing I would say is to have some high protein snacks ready to go, right? Just in case. You might not always need them, which is fine, but they're there in case you do need them. And some ideas for that would be like, you know, maybe a snack size bag of some nuts or a trail mix with dried fruit would still be okay. No chocolate chips though, okay? Unless they're dark chocolate. That could work too. So let's say an 80% or higher. I even found 100% dark chocolate recently and tried it, and it was surprisingly good. But as long as it doesn't have any added sugar, you could still do that. We're not saying you have to detox from chocolate, okay? But not chocolate with sugar. Let's see, another another protein snack. I jumped ahead to the chocolate. That's actually more of an allowable treat. But protein snack, sorry. So maybe an apple with almond butter, right? So a nut butter could be a good snack. I think I said that even in the Facebook group that sometimes I just take spoonfuls of nut butter. There was a period of time for a few months actually where I had to do a really strict paleo diet for some digestive issues, and I wasn't having any carbs at all. Almond butter got me through so many tough moments when all I wanted was like a piece of toast or something. I just take a spoonful of almond butter, and it was amazing how it would just cut the craving. Okay, so this is what you need to find strategies that are like that are going to work for you. Maybe having some hard-boiled eggs on hand that you could go to, or cheese sticks, right? Or cottage cheese, or even plain whole fat Greek yogurt. Nothing flavored because that's going to have added sugar, but plain yogurt. And Greek is high protein. So any of those snacks would be good options, and have them at the ready, okay, in case you need them. A list of distractions. So in case those food strategies don't work and you're still just like, oh my God, I want that cookie or candy or brownie or whatever it is staring at you, right? You really ideally want to have a list of distractions ready to go. So that could be, maybe going for a walk around the block, maybe making yourself a cup of tea, maybe even if you're at home, turning on the music and having a dance party, whatever it is. It's just really, you just need a few minutes to let the craving pass. So if you can distract yourself, the craving will pass, and then you'll be able to move on. So having some ideas of what might work for you to distract. And then if all of that fails, right, and you still need something, you still need some kind of treat, this is where that dark chocolate without any added sugar comes in. Fruit is going to be a really big ally. So stock up on lots of fruit when you go to the grocery store this week. Even dried fruit is okay in moderate amounts. So in the back of your book, your Rustic Remedy book, I have a really yummy recipe in there for something called brownie bites, which are amazing. And all it is walnuts, dates, coconut oil, and vanilla extract. No added sugar. The sugar is coming from the dates. That would be allowable. It's still real food. We have to be careful with the dried fruit, of course, because it's very concentrated in sugar and we don't want to overdo that. But your basic goal is, as long as it's real food, there hasn't been any sugar or sweetener added to it, it's going to be okay. One other thought here is how to sweeten things. Like let's say you have yogurt or smoothies in the morning, but it's flavored and it has sugar in it. Or maybe you like your oatmeal in the morning, but you put maple syrup or brown sugar or something in it. So what could we use for some sweetening ideas? Or even in your coffee or tea if you put sugar in that. So I'm going to suggest that you use different flavorings to help sweeten. So like the brownie bite example, we use vanilla extract. Vanilla extract can be a great sweetener. You can put that in your yogurt, in your oatmeal, right? In your smoothie. Another good one is cinnamon. Cinnamon can be a great sweet flavor. And stevia actually would still be totally fine to use if you need something even stronger in a sweet taste. So I would say you have two main jobs this week. The first job is to get rid of any temptations, right? Of anything in your house or in your space that might tempt you this week. And then your second big task is to really come up with your strategies. How are you going to get through those moments when you really want something sweet, okay? And then what we're going to do, let me go ahead and advance this, is you're going to record that on your sugar worksheet. So you're right in your worksheet, you're going to write in what are your strategies to help you get through your cravings. So you have a game plan, okay? And then you're going to record how you do this week. And you're just going to do the best you can. All right, you guys, the goal is to really get it completely out, let your body detox. You'll be surprised after just 1 week of avoiding it, how much easier it's going to be to moderate sugar going forward. But you really have to make the commitment to get through the week, okay? All right, so let's go ahead and wrap up. Okay, let's review our tasks for this week. So first, we're clearing our kitchen of any products with added sugars, even the healthy ones for this week, okay? And anything with artificial sweetener. And we're not gonna buy anything from the store this week that has added sugars or artificial sweeteners. Our second task is we're coming up with our craving plan, right? Our strategies to help deal with our cravings, and then of course track your progress each day. You still have your other goals to be working on this week, your fluids, your veggies, your proteins, your fats, and movement. All 5 of those things are going to help you be more successful with the sugar detox. So it's all synergistically moving you in the same direction. Okay, so try not to be overwhelmed by that. Just know that it's a complete program and it's all helping you get where you want to be. Remember to check your weight this week and take your photo if you haven't done that already this last week. Of course, share in the Facebook group or email me directly if you need to. We had mentioned at the Facebook Live, that you guys would like to do maybe another check-in at the end of this week. So we can go ahead and shoot again for this next Saturday at 9 a.m. doing a Facebook Live and really just in real time going through how did this week went, what came up for people, what strategies worked, etc. I'll go ahead and plan on that. And I'll send an event invitation to everyone. So just confirm with me that that's still what you want to do, and then that time is still going to work for everybody. And then I'll plan to see you next Saturday, okay, on Facebook. One other thing I want to alert you to is that since we are almost halfway through the program, the end of this week will be halfway. I am going to send out a mid-program evaluation this week that I would please love to have you fill out by the end of the week, or by let's say by the end of next weekend. That's going to help me kind of touch base with you individually to just assess how are you doing, how are things going, what are you struggling with, what maybe do your priorities need to be for the second half of the program. I just want to make sure that individually I'm touching base with each of you and helping you meet your goals. Okay, so look for that in the Facebook group, and please fill it out once you see it. And that's it, you guys. So good luck this week. I know it's not going to be easy, but it is totally doable. I know you can do it, and particularly with the group support, I know we can do it. And I'm doing it with you guys. So don't think that I'm just telling you what to do and I'm not going to experience it with you. My whole family is doing it with you. I've already told my kids they're not getting jam on their toast this week. We're not putting maple syrup in our oatmeal. So I'll be there right with you, okay? And we're going to do it. We're going to do it together. So good luck, happy detoxing, and I'll see you next Saturday.